ますヘモン。リードラーニー。Am nos crude adverb. Around formulas ilicum adop. Amantoka roll. You ondik irarzen aulab ulumka. You cumicu aek izinf. Irum de cake ludu. No sus. If captain. Was I love Zico? It was the You want to lie, Ludo? Look at the law in your arms. You must almost read. Aki. Oh, this I don't icon carnica. All is your could do. Il reserve no cataiudo. 行くかオルデ。
And welcome back. I just want to say that last cutscene is where I actually thought I was going to see the spider at, but surprisingly enough, we get control of Dorman in the final cutscene. However, it's almost entirely pointless. We can't really do anything. We move crap. They actually put a surprising amount of detail in here. You can roar, you can punch, you can shoot lasers, but ultimately you can't change the outcome. A lot of people have theorized if you could hit the sword somehow with your, if you could smash the sword, that you could change it, but there's no real game data to my knowledge to suggest this. And just in general, it's kind of hard to move during this, so it's almost impossible to do anything really besides just punch and roar. It's kind of weird. You're locked down on a grid and you kind of have to move by tapping rather than holding. Stupid statues. Yeah, just wow. We didn't really see this coming. Anyway, here's something. I forget how I do this. I think I crouch and press like triangle or something, but apparently it could shoot lasers as well. What the fuck, guys? Alright. Anyway, I think that I should talk about my theories and ideas surrounding this game now that I have broken the ice with Dorman, quite literally. I can probably go into what I think. I'm going to give a warning right now. If you haven't seen this ending yet, I would suggest finding it on YouTube. It's pretty easy to find, and just watching it the whole way through before listening to my commentary, because I am going to be spoiling upcoming things in the ending. First off, basically from Shadow of the Colossus to Ico, it's actually fairly easy to draw some connections, not only because it's outright stated that this is a prequel, but because just of how the symbolism and everything else in it. The horns are an obvious connection, and the Wanderer will go on to basically create the horned boys. Now, the question is how you connect them. The obvious way is with Dorman, is obviously with the Wanderer. Just, you know, he creates the horned boys, and that's how it works. However, I think there's more to it than that. Specifically, I just kind of let the cat out of the bag there a second ago, is I like to connect the games with Dorman. Now you're probably thinking, what, Dorman's not in Ico? Well, not quite. We know, first off, this sealing is really where it all hinges on. Is, you know, he says we need to put a seal over the entire shrine. Now obviously he can't seal in the way that Dorman was sealed originally, because, well, we don't have the Colossi, we don't have the statues. You know, we can't do that. Instead, and obviously we can't kill the Wanderer, because, you know, that would just kind of release Dorman from his body, you know, back to square fucking one. So we have to improvise a little bit. Now, once again, we're going to have control in here, but we're not going to be able to do anything. But in order to improvise, we have to kind of seal him as he is. Basically just, you know, seal him inside Wanderer. Unfortunately, we don't have time to make a complex spell, so we're going to have to do something a little bit more basic. You know, just basically seal all the impurity, all the nastiness inside the Wanderer, and just seal it right up inside him, return him to a form of innocence, i.e. infant, which we're going to see later. Like I said, if you really didn't want to get spoiled, you probably should have watched it just without my commentary. But because of this, it's not exactly a complete sealing. It's more, the way I see it is it's kind of like quarantining a virus on a computer. what you do there is you basically take the virus, you put it to a point where it can't infect anything else in an isolated folder somewhere, and you delete it once the computer turns off, or in this case, when the Wanderer died. The issue here is, and that's basically what he does here, is he quarantines all of the impurity, all of the badness inside the horns, Dorman along with it. Inside the horns. Unfortunately, this quarantine is not a very good one. It's either through sexual reproduction or just interaction with other people. Parts of Dorman's essence will somehow get fragmented and are passed on to other people, and that's how the Horn Boys are created. Either through the Wanderer's future promiscuity or just through other people. That's how it happens. And every single one of them has a part of Dorman inside of them that's sealed within their horns. Now, as we saw earlier, Dorman basically can't do anything unless he's whole. You know, we had him almost completely restored, and he still could do nothing but, you know, give us hints and, you know, basically float there and be all godlike. But even with that, we noticed when we absorbed his essence, we would gain power. We would gain quite a bit of strength and be able to survive quite a lot more. And of course, we were inexperienced with this power, but a more experienced soul could possibly use this to greater lengths. Enter the Queen from Ico. She, for one reason or another, and I might get into this in a minute, figures out that the Horn Boys contain essences of power, and she wants to collect them in order to become all-powerful. And this comes into the second part of the theory, in that the Queen is actually Mono, who is our girlfriend who has just been revived. Mainly because she knows that Mono is really... It could be anyone, but I'm going to use Mono in this scenario, mainly because even though the theory so far works without her, and it will continue to work without her, it really makes more sense for me to cover all the bases of the theory. Mono knows that she was dead and she was resurrected. She also knows that there's a great power here, and it's probably somehow tied to this infant. Most likely, she probably draws the conclusion that it's the Wanderer. And she knows that it's probably connected to the horns. So she, for one reason or another, she either gains immortality through this, or she goes completely insane. Probably a combination of the both. By the way, our horsey lives! Give me a second, I need to take a drink. But yeah, Mono probably either goes insane or becomes immortal or something by these actions, and desires a great amount of power. As such, she starts collecting the Horn Boys and draining their power from them. She knows they have a lot of power. What she doesn't know is Dorman. She doesn't know that when complete, Dorman is basically going to and does pretty much bitch slap her straight out of the picture and just take over Eudora himself. For those of you who don't know, I'm also spoiling Ico a little bit, but I kind of left that to your assumption. Once again, like the attack button. Unfortunate, like I said, she doesn't know Dorman. She thinks she's going to get resurrected. He says no, she's dead. Once again, this really could be any person, but I'm going to use Mono in this scenario. Dorman proceeds to begin walking out of the castle in Ico when he comes across Ico, who has just been knocked clean out after having both his horns shattered by the Queen. And one of two scenarios happen here. Either Dorman mistakes Ico for the Wanderer, realizing that, you know, whether or not he killed his girlfriend, he probably owes him a debt of some kind because of what's happened. And if he did just kill his girlfriend, then he really does owe him a debt because he basically undid what he had promised. So he decides to save Ico, who he thinks is the Wanderer, along with Eudora. The other option here is and honestly probably the more realistic option, is he knows he's not the Wanderer, but he knows that he also had horns at one point. Now, as we saw earlier, you know, horns give us power. they're parts of Dorman's essence, and they more or less just, you know, make us more physically strong. They can have other powers. If this theory is correct, then it's basically given the Queen almost all of her powers. And by shattering our horns, we've basically given up our powers. And he realizes that, and he thinks this guy has basically given up his strength for me, whether he knows it or not. I probably should help him out because I do owe him for this. Because without him doing this, I would not have been able to be free. And also, I might not have been able to overpower the Queen because she was weakened. So, either way, he decides to save both Aiko and Eudora. And in the ending of Aiko, after the credits, we find that they wake up on a beach. Now, there is a beach in the Forbidden Lands, which I didn't go to, but it does bear a heavy resemblance to the beach from the ending of Aiko. Because of this, people have named it Aiko Beach, and this is most likely where they wake up. Basically, Dorman has said, I've had enough of this kind of revenge thing. I'm complete. I've done what I wanted to do. I've regained all my parts, so I'm just going to go home, basically. And that's really how I draw the connection between these two games. And, you know, of course, Last Guardian could shatter all of this to pieces. You know, just completely bombshell it. And, you know, if there's a hole in it that you guys can see, you know, go ahead and throw it out there. Once again, there's major holes in Mono's character, basically, her going insane and becoming the Queen. But once again, her being the Queen is kind of a side note in this theory. It's mainly focused around Dorman and his actions. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to let Iman say his spiel there. But yeah, that's my gist of how these two connect and really how they work. You know, I think it's a good theory. You guys might find some problems with it. If you find some problems with it, go ahead, throw it in the comments. You know, I'm willing to adjust, and I'm willing to probably completely outright my theory if you guys find a major hole in it. But I spent a lot of time thinking about this, so I don't think that's going to happen. You know, Last Guardian, once again, could shatter this to pieces. I think this is one of the only games I know of that lists the entire orchestra and who played what. Anyway, here's our baby form. I might actually get a mature content on this because I think we see his dick at one point. I don't quite remember. I may have to attempt to censor that. Yep, there it is. Hello. Yep, I'm gonna have to find a way to censor that. My sentiment's exactly, Augur. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And actually, the last part of what I need to talk about here is where we are going right now. And oddly enough, it's something that I haven't even touched on because really I can't get to it. But Agro is going to lead us up here because the door is open now. It's a lot easier to get to. At near the top of the Shrine of Worship, not anywhere near close to the top, but basically the highest point you can get to. If you climb up here through a very long path and basically requiring you a lot of grip or glitch to get up, you can get to what is called the Hidden Garden. The Hidden Garden is a extra area in the game. It's basically like an Easter egg area, which is present at the end of the game right here. There are special fruit trees here that will actually decrease your health and grip. I'm not sure if it's your health and your grip or just your health, but they will actually decrease your health, and it's kind of like a purity thing, like it's cleansing you of Dorman's essence. And there's a couple things that are different about it in the pre-release of it, but I'll go over those if I ever do a bonus episode. But yeah, needless to say, it's a really cool Easter egg right here. we get one of the more interesting things is a fawn. You know, baby deer, right here. Nowhere else in the game. There's also a squirrel in the PAL version of the game, but I'm not playing the PAL, obviously, so we're not going to see it. Hello. It's just so calming. It's like, you know, life goes on. After this, you know, massive epic, you know, life goes on. You know, we've had our experience, and now we're gonna take that and move on. We're gonna see where life takes us, and, you know, maybe things will turn out better after all. Or maybe we'll turn into a giant, ugly, black throbbing queen and try and gain ultimate power by capturing horned children and sacrificing them. Who knows? Anyway, this hawk, which has led us in here, it is actually the same hawk that was in the opening, so the hawk that leads us in will also lead us out. And play, of all the shtick I give the music in the game, I love the ending credits theme. This last bit. It's, the name of the track is The Sunlit Earth, and I love it. Just gonna let it play for a little bit. Oh yeah. Nothing better. Anyway, with this, I will close off Shadow of the Colossus. I'm glad you guys watched this. Were here with me. I'm glad you guys watched. Subscribe if you like it. Comment, whatever, you know, all that good jazz. And I will see you guys next time on my next LP. Not quite sure what I'm doing yet, but who knows? Perhaps the sun will rise in that game as well. See you guys then.